Iran just sent a devastating message to Israel in the United States with its biggest missile attack on Israel to date since the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran began just under a week ago. Hey, this is Danny Haifong, and you are tuning in to another update on the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran as the United States ponders getting more involved directly with military intervention. But let us get first to what happened June 19th. Into the wee hours of the morning, Iran launched 20 to 30 ballistic missiles. And what is really interesting and important to note about these attacks over the last few days, and of course this one being one of the biggest, is that Iran's attacks are becoming more accurate. The missile strikes are becoming more precise, and it's quite clear, it is 100% evident that Israel's air defenses are struggling. The Washington Post noted that it only has 10 to 12 days left before air defenses are completely exhausted, which might explain why the United States is in such a panic to come to Israel's aid. Let's get to the targets of these missile strikes because they are hugely significant. They are perhaps the most significant yet in this conflict. So the IDF Cyber Command, the C4I headquarters, was hit near the Tel Aviv area. The IDF Military Intelligence Center, the Gav-Yam complex, was also struck. Sensitive military and Israeli intel facility near the Soroka Medical Center, which has caused a huge uproar, of course, from Israeli officialdom, and the Western mainstream media is hyping this near the Negev desert. This will be subject to more conversation in this video. The Soroka Medical Center itself was hit adjacent to it. Now, mind you, Iran has become, again, as I said, more precise. So while the medical center itself was not directly hit, it did sustain major damage from the strikes in and around the area. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, worth $375 billion was damaged with injuries reported. A residential building, the Holon, was hit in the Gush Dan region, the Ramat Gan high-rise towers as well. Central Tel Aviv, there were numerous unverified and unspecified strikes, and a military base near Tel Aviv was also hit, and it was described by Israeli officials as sensitive. Mind you, Iranian media is the only source right now that can verify or identify these targets because Israel has unprecedented censorship employed now as they try to cover up the damage, and the Western mainstream media is not allowing its own viewers or not trying to confirm or verify any of these attacks for their viewership and their audiences and their citizens in their countries. So mind you, Iranian media right now is the source, so take that with a grain of salt, but Israeli media as well is confirming many of these targets. So let's talk about why these targets are so significant. On the one hand, of course, you see just how precise and how accurate these missile attacks are becoming. And one of the big reasons why this is because Iran is actually moving up the escalation ladder and using more advanced missile technology. In this strike alone, the IRGC reported that they unleashed the Sigil missile, which has a 2,500 kilometer maximum range, which can carry a 700 kilogram warhead. It's the first time it's been used in active combat, and it has technology that can evade interception. And given the hits, we saw how it evaded interception. The Khorramshahr missile was also used here, a massive 1.5 ton payload, and that was used mainly on central Israel. Israeli officials are saying themselves that, quote unquote, these missiles exceeded expectations in their destructive power, and the images that are coming out we see are devastating in the sense that many are making comparisons to the blown out buildings and the damaged targets like the Weizmann Science Center as being indicative of what Israel, or comparable to what Israel had done to Gaza. Now, mind you, the casualties themselves are smaller. Iran is being precise and hitting mainly military targets. So in this strike alone, we saw over 100 Israeli casualties, most of them being military in nature. So that's an important point that we have to keep in mind. Now, Iran, why did I say Iran has called the United States and Israel's bluff? Well, there's all kinds of talk about the United States intervening and escalating this conflict further. But Iran has responded to this not by dialing back, but using a very concerted and coordinated strategy of keeping Israel and the United States now on their toes, first with bigger attacks, then smaller attacks, the use of drones, the use of older missiles, and now more advanced missiles. There's this very unpredictable yet escalatory strategy being taken, which is confusing Israel's air defenses as well as overall how Israel and the United States want to respond to this. It's so clear that Iran's main targets are command and control, military, and intelligence sites. They are undermining now the public confidence of Israeli society itself in its government, in its military, and its ability to respond. The constant barrages that we've seen daily now over Tel Aviv, for example, has Israelis sleeping in the metro system, has Israelis continuously coming in and out of shelters, crippling Tel Aviv, one of the biggest economic hubs of Israel itself. The stock exchange hit today is so incredibly significant because it demonstrates that not only does Iran have the ability to hit Israel and to pierce Israel's air defenses, it has the ability to hit whatever it wants. And this strikes at the heart of Israel's invincibility narrative. So the injuries, the casualties are mounting. We don't know a lot about the official casualties because Israel, again, an unprecedented censorship campaign, and they always underplay their overall numbers. But some are saying 65 plus, some are saying over 100. Those numbers, of course, take with a grain of salt because they're coming both from Israeli and Iranian media. Now, the unprecedented media blackout from Israel is another signal of its desperation. As these missiles come down, Israel is punishing anyone who not only takes photos of these, but celebrates them. So the photos and videos are banned in Israeli society now. Civilians, residents, settlers, they're not able to take videos of these missiles without deep punishment. But also we've seen Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza who are in Israeli prisons. They also have been punished severely for just celebrating these missile attacks, which we have to understand is understandable given the hell that Israel has rained upon them over the last 20 months. Now, a big hit over the last 24 hours for Iran has been the Hermes drone. It was shot down over western Iran in what was likely a preemptive surveillance or targeting attempt by Israel. And Iran is not only showing that it can hit wherever it wants, but it's shown that it has air defenses that are capable enough to take down Israel's most damaging attempts to strike at the heart of Iran's military infrastructure. And reports are, and we see this across the Western mainstream media, that while Iran, and they like to hype up the damage, but they are also saying that Iran has not sustained significant enough damage to stop them from continuing these attacks. And while Israel is saying it dominates the skies of Iran and has committed many strikes that have damaged civilian infrastructure, some military infrastructure, and of course has killed over 200 Iranian civilians, it has not been able to stop Operation True Promise 3 or create any conditions where Iranian society turns against the government. All indications is that the opposite is actually happening. So these attacks on June 19th were a huge message to the United States and to Israel that despite threats of escalation, despite threats that Tehran has to evacuate, all their civilians have to evacuate, that at any moment the United States could strike Fordo nuclear facility or more, despite the fact that Israel is saying that it is going to escalate even further its attacks on Iran. What is clear is that Iran is not backing down, and that its targets are becoming more precise, that its missiles are getting through Israeli air defenses with greater volume and number, and that the precision of these strikes and the strategy it is employing are sending panic through the veins and the arteries of the United States and Israel's war machinery. Iran is demonstrating the confidence not of a defeated country or people, but one that is very much prepared to defend itself and to move up the escalatory ladder if necessary. And of course, Iran has said that this is just the beginning. And I think this is why we see both U.S. and Israeli officialdom signal such panic, not only to the Western mainstream media, but it's clear that their response to all of this, the United States' back and forth response about whether they are going to intervene more directly, and of course Israel's response, which has been to threaten to escalate strikes on Iran, while according to most reports, essentially carry out the same volume of attacks as they have been, with actually some days being far reduced in numbers, terror attacks, car bombings. These are not the signs of a confident military strategy, one that is set to destroy the opponent. Iran does not look destroyed. Iran appears very much able and capable of hitting Israel, and hitting Israel incredibly hard. So this crisis that the United States and Israel find itself in has now sparked immense conversation and debate about what to do next. So on June 19th, before these missile strikes ended up raining down on Tel Aviv and surrounding areas, hitting, of course, these very strategic sites, the stock exchange, the military intelligence headquarters, etc. Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom all held emergency war room meetings. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump has already approved strike plans. However, he has not given the launch order, and he told the media on the tarmac that he likes to make the final decision 1 second before it's due to happen. Now, this bluster and this confidence actually hides the fact that this debate is a lot more complicated than Donald Trump is making it out to be. Axios is reporting that U.S. officials close to U.S. advisors close to Donald Trump are asking the question, can these bunker busters that the United States will employ on Iran, can they destroy Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, which is buried deep in the mountainous regions of Iran? There's a lot of questions about Israel lacking the firepower that only the U.S. has. The U.S. wants to, of course, employ these 30,000-pound MOP huge bombs and use their B-2 stealth bombers stationed in Diego Garcia to drop them. The Pentagon says that they are ready to destroy Fordo. Trump is not necessarily convinced at this moment, which is why he has held off. But don't expect this to be held off for long. According to Bloomberg and other Western mainstream media sources, it could be any day now that the United States conducts its strike. A U.S. official told Axios that we're ready to strike, but want it to be necessary. And it's not just about dropping the bomb. This is likely coming straight from intelligence or the military itself, but it has to be a whole campaign. So it's quite clear and obvious that the United States and Israel are not confident, especially the United States are not confident, that a strike on Iran's nuclear facility will not only destroy it itself, but create the conditions where Iran surrenders. Because remember, Donald Trump has called on the unconditional surrender of Iran, has threatened Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, with assassination. All of this is supposed to threaten Iran and make Iran capitulate to the U.S.'s demand, which, according to the United States itself, is to stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon. But we know, as this has continued to play out, that really what this is about is regime change. Israel is far more honest about this. Israel wants to see the regime gone. It wants to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu makes almost bi-weekly, weekly announcements to the Iranian people, telling them to rise up. None of it has succeeded as of this moment. Now, there's a lot to watch out for as we move in to the next phase of this conflict, U.S. involvement. First, is Trump going to authorize the launch of the strikes? We don't know this yet, but all Western mainstream media reports indicate that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when, and of course, what the consequences will be. Now, Iran is showing that it is going to continue to escalate its own targets, and that so far Israeli strikes are not capable of stopping Operation True Promise 3. So will the Dimona nuclear facility receive a direct hit as a retaliation to these escalations? Mind you, Israel is striking not only Iran's oil energy infrastructure, but it is attempting to hit even its nuclear energy infrastructure that is quite proven not to be used for any military purposes. Israel is hitting civilian infrastructure. And this is, of course, Iran's red line, and why it continues Operation True Promise 3 without any indication it will end it. Now, there's a lot of reports, too, that Hezbollah and, of course, Yemen's Ansarallah are going to even more deeply get involved into this should the U.S. strike. Now, of course, Hezbollah has been very dormant of late. It has been engaged in a ceasefire with Israel and, of course, France and the parties, the United States, that brokered it many months ago. But according to Elijah Magnier, a war correspondent, and his sources, they are saying that Hezbollah is not only capable of entering this conflict, but they will, should the United States become involved. Yemen's Ansarallah has already been coordinating and helping Iran with its strikes on Israel, providing its own strikes onto Israel. And of course, it's been doing this for many, many months throughout the course since November of 2023. So a long campaign that Ansarallah, or November 2024, sorry, a long campaign for Yemen's Ansarallah against Israel. So now I want to talk about what happens now between the United States and Iran. The very big concern that the United States should have if it becomes more involved. And I think this is why it has been delayed so much up until this point. And that is that Iran has the capability. It doesn't matter how many destroyers that the United States sends. It doesn't matter if the United States employs these bunker busters. If Iran is able to hit with rapid speed and strategic prowess Israeli targets, then the fear is that if the United States has to fly their bombers 3,000 kilometers from Diego Garcia, will Iran send American pilots back in coffins to the United States? And the same goes for U.S. destroyers stationed in and around the Middle East, in the Persian Gulf. Will these destroyers sink to the bottom, and will there be body bags and coffins sent back to the United States? And can the United States really handle this, its political leadership, without massive unrest, instability, And of course, the pressures then for Donald Trump's administration to step up the war even further, leading to a catastrophic long war, which at the very least Donald Trump is reporting that he wants to avoid. Of course, we have to take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of what Donald Trump does is about his own viability and, of course, the viability of his political party, which is true of all U.S. presidents. Now, a big concern, of course, also is the fact that the U.S. military bases surrounding Iran in the Gulf region, in West Asia, are all fair game. And Iran has said over and over and over again that it will target them, and the United States can do nothing about it, which is why we see evacuations from the UAE, from Saudi, from Qatar, from in and around the area, Bahrain. We see evacuations from the United States because these bases are very vulnerable, and they will be hit should the United States take the plunge and escalate this conflict. And then the question is, then what? So this is the big problem right now for the United States. It is witnessing and watching Iran's capabilities be far greater than they expected. Israel has already said it. This is one of the things about Israel, is that at times Israel is far more honest because of the grotesqueness of their overall military, of course, and political policy. Now we have to also get into the hype about this hospital strike, the Soroka Medical Center. The Soroka Medical Center is used primarily to treat injured soldiers, wounded soldiers that Israel has sent out mainly to Gaza. So there's a lot of conversation and talk all across Telegram, various channels, X, who are covering this, saying that it is quite ironic that Israel is calling on the international community to punish Iran for war crimes, when in fact, by the day, Israel is targeting hospitals in Gaza, schools in Gaza, not only in a similar manner, but in a much more damaging manner, because we've seen Palestinian babies, children, women, civilians all be not only mass murdered and killed, but we've seen their infrastructure destroyed and left in a place where it's unusable, and of course Gaza has become unlivable. Now, another irony that people are pointing out is that Israel always accuses Hamas and the Palestinian resistance of using civilian infrastructure like hospitals as military sites. And this medical center, the Soroka Medical Center, which primarily treats soldiers, also has surrounding it military and intelligence sites that Iran actually hit directly. And it was the blowback from those hits that caused the damage to the hospital. So people are pointing out, and those who are astute enough to critically think about this are pointing out that the hypocrisy is really laid bare for all to see. And this is a big part of Operation True Promise 3. This is a big part of the entirety of the Axis of Resistance's moves up until this point. There always has been a military, just in terms of military might, a huge gap between the resistance to Israel, the resistance to this genocide, the resistance to U.S. and Israeli warmongering in the region. There's always been a huge gap. Iran has not only closed this gap to a significant degree, to the point where it is causing huge problems for Israeli air defenses, completely exhausting them, as well as the United States having a difficult time figuring out what to do, which 25 years ago, the response would be, 25 years ago, the response would be quite clear. It would be a total annihilation, or an attempted annihilation of the Iranian government as quickly as possible. Those bombers in Diego Garcia would be launched as we speak. But there has been a significant delay in this, and that is because the United States is not confident in its position, even as Donald Trump's bluster is seemingly rising by the day. But that bluster is coupled with frustration and anger, and that is clear just from every media appearance he has made. Every time a reporter asks him about this, you can see it in his tone and in his face that this is not going well. So here we are, June 19th, a very significant day in Operation True Promise 3. Big attacks on Israel, strategic attacks, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, the military and intelligence sites in and around this medical center, the Soroka Medical Center, and of course many others which are causing not only significant damage to Israeli so-called society, but it is really putting the United States and Israel on notice about what can they do from here that will stop this. When Iran is saying it can not only continue, but it might be able to continue for a year or more, which Israel, its air defenses are gone in less than 10 days. The reports were 10 to 12 days, 1 to 2 days ago. The United States is on the precipice and on the brink of escalating this conflict, and we will have to see how it does this in the preceding hours and days ahead.